Hello everyone, Social Coach Michael Knight here, and today we'll be talking about rejection and how it doesn't have to be some awful, awkward, painful experience. We'll be talking about rejection in the sense of asking someone out on a date or asking your boss for a raise, etc. It's critical to get over your fear of rejection if you want to bring more of the things you want into your life. Because in life, it's really rare to get more than what you ask for. The first misconception about rejection is that it's a bad thing that should always be avoided. Thus, that's where rejection gets its negative connotation from. However, if any type of partnership is to be deemed as being significant, then it must be deemed as being more valuable over other pairings that were decided to be less compatible. A lot of initial interactions are just tests for initial compatibility, and there shouldn't be an expectation on either side that it should necessarily evolve any further. When it comes to personal relationships, I never really viewed starting up a conversation with a stranger as something that could even be met with a real rejection. Because at that point, what can they really reject? They only can reject the opportunity to have a conversation with you. They don't yet know you, so they can't really reject the real you. And likewise, why do you care about the opinion of someone you don't even know yet? Imagine asking to switch seats with a stranger on a bus, but them replying no because they want to remain sitting with a boyfriend that you weren't aware of. Now imagine asking a stranger out on a date, and them also replying no because they have a boyfriend that you were not aware of. Why do these two no's feel like they carry such different weights? A simple, oh, okay, no problem, is the only reply you need to make in either situation. There's no reason why your emotions in one situation should be so vastly different than your emotions in another situation. These emotions being, yeah, maybe a slight disappointment that an option isn't available, but there not being any long-lasting embarrassment, shame, pain, or awkwardness. What makes the second situation different is factors such as you're embarrassed by your own desires, you have a lack of self-worth where you don't think you deserve what you want, you feel shame about not being good enough, and your feelings are hurt by the other person saying no. It's primarily your own emotional state and not the state of the other person that determines how awkward a rejection will be. The other person's emotional state or reaction is often just a mirror of your own. The other person sensing your highly emotional state is what feeds the awkwardness generated by their fear of triggering you or hurting your feelings. You are often the one who are building everything up in your mind, creating an emotionally high pressure situation, and thus making an awkward and painful rejection a self-fulfilling prophecy. How many more times do you want to ride around on the carousel of finding someone you like, harboring a secret crush that grows into infatuation, getting overly invested in your potential future together, having this create pressure and fear of loss, which then handicaps your ability to act normal. Thus you blow the relationship and create a rejection filled with awkwardness and pain. Lather, rinse, repeat, start again with someone new. If this sounds like you, then I highly recommend you check out my book about attraction, which is linked to in the description below. Once you recognize that it's mostly your own internal beliefs and mental state which are determining the other person's reactions, the realization then follows that the degree of awkwardness of a situation is highly determined by factors that are under your control. And if something is under your control, then there is a less of a need to fear it. In the few cases where a well-delivered, unemotional request of yours does trigger a disproportionate, defensive, mean, or negative emotional response from the other person, recognize that this has a lot more to do about them than it does about you. Their negative reaction is often just a result of their own insecurities. For example, in the case of asking someone out on the date, if the person that you ask is rude to you and reply that they're out of your league, they probably do this because they have a lot of self-doubt about themselves. Same goes for asking your boss for a raise. Maybe your boss actually even realizes that you may be more valuable than them, and thus they feel threatened. If such people were really self-secure about themselves, they would not need to react in such an unnecessarily negative way. In these situations, your job is simply to not react to them or be pulled into their frame and think that you're wrong for simply asking. For them, it's easier to convince another person, you, that you're wrong rather than question their own beliefs. But again, these type of situations are actually quite rare because if you know how to make your desires known without putting pressure on the other person, not only will a greater percentage of your propositions just be outright accepted, but the interactions will also be devoid of any awkwardness if you are turned down. Having successful interactions boils down to the core principle of social dynamics, which is to make your honest intentions known in such a way that you demonstrate your emotional state is not dependent on the outcome of the person's response. What is more awkward? Everyone knowing that you're secretly interested in someone or something, but you walking around pretending that you don't care? Or you being straightforward and honest and unembarrassed about your interests? The very action of trying to hide something makes someone look less confident, which subsequently results in the person being less likely to actually get what they want. By being straightforward and unashamed about your interests, you prevent awkwardness by appearing honest and congruent, rather than looking like you're trying to hide something or you have hidden motives. The other person wants to sense that they can say no to you without there being any type of negative consequences, such as you becoming emotionally distraught. They don't want to agree to something small that later turns out to be a bigger commitment. If they can sense that they can say no to you now, they'll be much more comfortable accepting initial offer, because they'll know you'll also respect their decisions in the future if they were to change their mind at a future time. Even if they initially say no to you, if you don't create an awkwardness surrounding the topic, then it can easily be revisited in the future rather than avoided. What makes a situation awkward is when you're disproportionately more heavily invested in its outcome than the other person. This creates the uncomfortable pressure dynamic that leads to awkwardness and pain. Perseverance can work in situations which you show dedication while continuing to come off as not being too overly invested in the outcome. Perseverance without showing one's honest intentions leads to creepiness, and perseverance while being too heavily invested in the outcome leads to restraining orders. You can prevent becoming disproportionately overly invested in someone or something by showing your honest intentions from the start and not letting some covert desire grow unduly large internally. In summary, rejection is a normal part of life and useful when searching for compatibility. There's no need for rejections to be painful, awkward, or unpleasant. Awkward rejections can be prevented by you unapologetically voicing your honest intentions while simultaneously not being overly invested in achieving a specific outcome. If you're interested in becoming someone who's not fazed by rejection, then subscribe to this channel for more videos on the topic. Also check out my book and other resources linked to in the description below, such as one-on-one coaching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, ciao.